Arcturian Crystalline Grid Project. Throwing me for a loop here. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not supposed to do this today. Maybe not. I fell asleep after having 2 channelings in my head with the Arcturian Translucent Color Realms out of 12D, and the other one, the 13D Arcturian Crystal Blue Angels, the two collectives that basically own this YouTube channel. Yes, they share it together. Yes, they both have the privilege of having their own Facebook group by their own names. They have their own groups each, and they each have their own page. So they have to share, big deal. They have to share a YouTube channel. Ascension Mania is running wild, people. I knew that there was another shift coming this month, and probably gonna, last through next month too, here and there. So, I haven't felt anything yet. I'm waiting, I'm waiting on bated breath to see if that happens. I know that we're going to hear from the Arcturian Translucent Color Realms. We're going to hear a little bit from both of them. The thing is, I was talking with one of my friends in private earlier. I've done 2 shows with him, David. Not David Starr, not the co-author of that wonderful book right there. By the way, people, you got to get a hold of that book. If you're a historian at all with you in our line of work, if you know of Chariots of the Gods, if you know of the 12th planet with Sitchin, Zechariah Sitchin, if you know about Bringers of the Dawn with Marciniak, which a better version of that book is Leah Shapiro's Comes the Awakening. It's a clean version of it without any reptilian influence in it. Yeah, and Auntie Barb's kind of crazy. Yeah, she's funny. Every has a Pleiadian. Every Pleiadian channel that I've ever heard, some are better articulators than others, but it's all good information, right? There's only been 2 Pleiadian channelers ever I had a problem with. One's great now. She just took her a while to get going, and I didn't vibe with her at all. Christine Day, when she started, I'm like, this woman don't really know it. She does now. She's figured it out, okay? God love her. So that's cool. Now, the only one that I wouldn't listen to, now it's funny, the only one I wouldn't listen to out of anybody I'd ever find that does Pleiadian stuff would be Marciniak. Isn't that kind of ironic? Well, that's just how it is. She never was much about giving back or anything, and she tried to interpret that book too much with her mind. And you think I'm crazy? People, trust me, I know that book better than anybody that's walked the planet, probably even her. I've read that book, 23 times through, but it isn't just that. I've listened to her audio with her voice doing that book 222 times back in the day, all the way through, and back and forth again, with my Pleiadian guides too. Her information wasn't, it was good, but she was off on a lot of stuff, and you could tell she was letting her lizard brain kind of take over. And so she did it also with her second book, Earth, the Living Library. But I'm not here to bag on her. I'm just saying, that's pretty damn good, huh? Out of several hundred people I've ever heard channel Pleiades. People one time, people that do it a lot, great stuff. Only had a problem with 2 of them ever, period. Christine Day, but Christine figured it out. She's got it. Christine's wonderful. Okay, that's her. So that's it. So there's one out of just several hundred that I don't really vibe with. And it's funny because to a lot of older people, she's probably the most popular Pleiadian figure there is. Yeah, but I'll just say it right now because I don't insult people, but there is an exception for every rule. Yeah, her shit is sloppy, basically. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, Comes the Awakening is a better version of that book by my former boss, Leah Shapiro. Great stuff. It's like that book without the reptilian influence in it. Well, yeah, here we go with Ascension Mania, but before I let one of those collectives come in, I got a really heartfelt letter today from a buddy of mine. I was mentioning earlier that I've done a few shows with him, a couple lately. We've got one called Drona Mania over on Pleiadian Express Productions, the Larry Locken 1 channel. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff, making a mockery of it, but yet talking about what we've seen growing up here on the Oregon coast where I'm at, my alien contacts, and the stuff he was seeing. It's incredible. But I told him that, there's people in my life and stuff that put me down and everything like that. And I just said, man, I just get so frustrated sometimes. I know that, I'm supposed to be a tough guy and everything where we're from, but sometimes the littlest things can hurt me. And so he had the following to say to me. I couldn't believe it, man. This motherfucker's gone to the mat for me before. He says, Larry, you need to continue to throw yourself into your work, your writing, your channeling. an idle mind to think about that other stuff isn't what you need. Reflection that results in congruent despair is useless at best. Despair is like quicksand and wildfire all at once. You burn up as you sink deeper into a self-absorbed misery. I do it too, bro. He said, I believe it is unclean entity promoting this depression to feed on the expelled emotions of misery. Think positive to reflect light upon these unclean, never-breathing things. Positivity is the cure. Love is the cure. Humility is the only path. Be thankful. This is a vaccine. We all suffer the same. We all suffer the same. Give thanks, forgive, forget, embrace today, embrace right now. Love and be forgiving. You're blessed. You're loved. Yeah, man, that's some shit he'd write too. You know, it's a little bit of, it's mostly creativity, but a little bit of the LSD when we were kids we took, you know, to blow our crown chakras wide open, because they, you know, we weren't born in the 90s and shit. We were already born that way. We had to, you know, we had to take what we could get and do it, to go to the fifth dimension the dangerous way, which is really, it's really the only, well, it's not now, because kids were born in the 90s. You can meditate and get into that mode. You can feel the fifth dimension. You can feel it. But yes, I would never advise it. Please don't. But yes, LSD is you're in the fifth dimension when you're on that shit. The air gets liquidy. A very fifth dimensional living, and you know, it's kind of like, it's not quite the sixth dimension yet. So in the fifth, you're either, you know, you can have visual contact with an alien, or you can have some like verbal going on in your mind. You have to really get into the sixth dimension entities before you see them doing both, though. Before your contact, you know, because my contacts at first were from a ship, and I never seen them. And then it became some sixth dimensional beings, and then I went up to seventh with the orbs. Okay, so you don't really, yeah, LSD is different. It's not for anybody who's never taken it before. It's not like you sit there and hallucinate really hardcore, although you can see shit on it, but it's different. I wouldn't advise ever taking it, and especially if you're not, it's a young person's drug, you know, it's not for when you're older, because when you got responsibilities and stuff like that, you'll start dwelling on every fucking thing. One thought, man, shit can flip in a second. And the problem with that stuff is you're locked in for hours and hours and hours. It's not like smoking DMT. I've never had DMT, but my buddy Dave here has. We didn't have it when I was growing up around here. You know, he's had some, you know, he's traveled all over the world. He's worked with bands and shit like that, you know. Pearl Jam, Chili Peppers, you know, things of that nature. And he says that, you know, he's told me about it, and other friends have told me about it too. And when I was younger, I would have tried it. Wouldn't do it now. I have not had a hallucinogen since August 1st of 1995, when I had one hit LSD when I turned 20. It was kind of, yeah, it was kind of like bad shit cut with some other shit. It was okay, but that's it. But besides that, it had been a while. Like you know, it'd been like a year since right after I got out of high school. So I just wouldn't do it. You know, for $1 million, I might smoke some DMT, but I would never, this is the honest to God's truth, I would never take another hit of LSD again. I don't care how much you paid me. It's not that I got scared from it, it's just that I even knew then, I'm like, man, there's no way with it. If I was an adult and I had kids, and even if they were grown, there's no way I could take this stuff, because I'd start dwelling on everything. And I would, so I wouldn't, you know. And plus, I had my run with it. It was okay. And yeah, everything happens for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. We go through what we go through to get to where we're gonna go. You know, there's more. What did the little blue guru tell me the other night? That there's more than one road to nirvana. I suppose so. You know, you can take the short way home. You can take the, you know, some people are a little bit quicker, but you know, some people really just like to take the long way home. You know, as Supertramp would say in that hit song. Take the long way home. Anyway, I'm not going to sing it for you. I'll spare you that. It just feels like things are, you know, you always come, because I've been doing this for a long time, listening to this shit for a long time. And it's always that we're moving forward. It's always that we're quickening. It's always that we're, you know, it always seems like if you don't know better, it can come across, channelings and stuff like that, it can come across like it's just stringing you along, right? You're just being strung along, right? But it's not really that, because you have to understand, though, if you start thinking that way, you have to understand that they do not operate out of a goddamn timeline. You know what I mean? Our guides and they don't. And so, like when I started doing that stuff, like, last couple days of 2010, but okay, we'll say 11. From then to now, it's fluid. Okay, it's fluid. It's very fluid. Did you know the taper fade at the low? I don't understand that. Metastic. I'm operating all this stuff by myself, so I can't really. Did I know that the low taper fade meme is still massive? No, I didn't. And hey, Kaz, how are you? No, bro. Yeah, it's good. I guess it's good to know, man. I mean, I'll take that under advisement. But no, I'm all seriousness, dude. I'll look it up after what you're saying there. I'll look it up afterward. I've got about 5 things going on in my mind. I'm awake on one brain cell. Let's see what else, man. I got 1 foot in the hole, 1 foot getting deeper. I just blew it to 11, or just turned it to 11 and blew another speaker, so to speak. Yeah, these solar, I'm glad that some of these other people are starting to talk about it now, but these solar flares that are hitting the planet, right, these are, just like the last time, these things are upgrades to us. Yeah, hey, Patrice, how's it going, sweetie? Yeah. Hey, cool. Yeah, all right. One thing I want to get to without getting doom and gloom real quick, okay? I know this for me, but, just stay true to yourself. There'll be shit, there really will be some little small shit done to try to distract us. I don't know, I almost had a feeling like that big thing in New Orleans and shit with that guy driving in and all those people dying, and then there's some other shit that's been going on in the country. And it doesn't make any sense, right? I know they can say that, well, people are just, here's what they'll try to say. Oh, people are just going crazy these days. People are just freaking out. Oh, I don't know. Some of that shit, when it comes down like that, though, I can't help but think, and I'm not even that Alex Jones dude. I'm not even that dude, people, at all. Not even Joe Rogan. I love Joe, but brilliant, super conscious, but he's a dipshit when it comes to politics, frankly, to be quite frank with you. But he's figuring it out. He's cool. He's not like Alex. He wouldn't talk a bunch of shit about people just to make a buck. I almost think that sometimes, though, those things are a distraction because it's so weird how it happened like that, and then, was the guy just freaked out and did that, and then, there was some shit that happened in New York, I think, too. And so we just be aware, it happens, and there are distractions that are coming from places that I don't think we fully know yet. I think that you're seeing, like, the Galactics have been saying, they're kind of running out of options. They're running out of ways to, they're trying to zig and they can't. They're trying to zag and they can't. They're trying to go back and try to zag when they're trying to zig and they can't, and vice versa. They're running out of options, so just don't. And by the way, wouldn't want you to ever get mean with a friend or anything, but if one of your people is starting to buy into one of these things that, oh man, well, the government's saying this or that, pop them upside the head gently and say, get a grip. We're moving away from that stuff, okay? We know it. We're aware of it. Yeah, be aware of it. Don't give it your energy. Here's the thing. Don't not be aware of it. Don't just say, I don't want to know. Hear it for a second, register it, then be done with it. Just cut it out. Be done, get in and hit it and go. That's it. So, these flares and these cosmic rays and stuff that are coming in and hitting the planet, they're upgrading us too. It's helping raise the vibration, okay? To the point where, telepathy is going to start coming into our purview a lot more. The younger people especially. It's just going to upgrade the vibration because, like I was talking about over on the PEP, the vibration, we have to have these shifts, okay? That last shift we had in November where we got our ass kicked, right? Then I said we hadn't had one since 2015 like that, and we hadn't. Okay, what that did was that upgraded us. I don't know anybody that felt Mercury retrograde. I never usually do that much, but I talked to a lot of people now. They didn't feel it. It was supposed to be hardcore, but I haven't felt anything yet from this shift except for 2 nights ago. About 2 in the morning, I was looking out the window, and it was kind of vibing, and I thought, man, I feel something coming on. And then I kind of do today a little bit too, but I don't have any ascension symptoms, and people are having bad ones, but I've been through the wars for a long time, though, see. I mean, it's, I don't usually get them like that anymore. Just like the humming, I can hear it all around, but I'm used to it. Okay, I'm upgraded to the point where my soul, my soul was already psychedelicized years ago, so I feel it, know it, I hit it, I lit it, and I'm gone. Seriously, but these upgrades, raise your vibration, because you couldn't just go up. Let's say I took you to the fifth dimension, right? And we walked in there, the sixth dimension, or God forbid, even higher. Your body, first of all, wouldn't be able to handle it, okay? Yeah, no way. But your brain, the vibrations, the sound. See, a vibration is the loudest, it's the loudest sound you'll never hear. That's what I would say about that humming. It's around the world. It's the loudest sound you can never hear. What I mean by that is, you can hear it, sure. Go get your neighbor. I was just saying this last night, I think even. Go get your neighbor, go get a friend, go get somebody that lives with you who's not awake and say, hey, shh, can you hear that? Can you hear that? They can't hear it, man. They can't unless they're awakened. They won't be able to hear it. Believe me, I'm that guy that made a dipshit of myself 10, 12 years ago. Oh, hey, man, can you hear that? Shh, be quiet. Can you hear that? Like late at night when it was real loud too? No. I mean, a couple dudes were like, oh, yeah, I think I hear something. I think I was, they were more talked into it. I think I, power of persuasion. Hey, can you hear that? That humming? That sounds like somebody's mowing the lawn in the clouds. And I noticed that people that weren't even right into the stuff I was, but they were awakened people that and now since they have been into it, but they would hear it too. Okay, they would hear it too, that humming. I know it still goes on, I'm just used to it. Believe me, it goes on. I'm at a place where it probably goes on as loud as anywhere on the planet. Right here on the Oregon coast. It's Palladian country out here, y'all. Seriously, you take that corridor, you go from Shasta, the Redwoods, up north, Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. Not any further south, about the top northern third on a map of California. The rest is a hellhole all the way down, and I've been on, the people are great there, but I'm talking about, like, it's Pleiadian country, period. And Pleiadian allies, like, the Hyperboreans, the Garthans, even the Arcturians come out here once in a while and wave. They don't, they kind of keep their distance. They're like admirals and generals still. You know what I mean? They're the brass. Okay, big time. And the thing with the Arcturians, too, is they won't give it up to me what it is. They're the only race that can cloak in our clouds. Our clouds expose these ships for some fucking reason. I don't know. With all the technology they have, these other, they're thousands of years ahead of us. They cannot completely cloak in our clouds. If there's no clouds, fine, do it. I've watched them appear and then cloak right away in a clear sky, night or day. But they can't go in a cloud without it showing and exposing them. But it's still at the same time. If you're not awakened, you're not going to notice anything, because if you did, if you even bothered to look up, for one, I mean, that's a big rarity. You'd have to look up, right? And get out and get past your own nose. But what you would think is just that it was like a rain cloud or something, but it's not, man. The other blue in there, there's a difference between that and that kind of a dark blue that you see on those ships, right? And it's a solider color. You got to really know what you're looking for. First of all, you got to know what you're looking for. Second of all, you got to look up. And third of all, you have to know what the fuck's going on. You have to be into this stuff. You have to be a light worker, a starseed, see pictures, see photos, see so many things, you have to be able to notice it. But they're there. I could take you anywhere in the goddamn world and give me 5 minutes. I'll show you a bunch of shit in the clouds. Oh, yeah, man, totally. I have no doubt about it, and I'm not that confident of a person. But there's no doubt. If you haven't had contacts with extraterrestrials yet, I used to feel for people because they'd be like, man, I just really want to meet an extraterrestrial. They wanted to meet or have telepathic communication with them. I felt bad, man. They're like, I've been trying to do everything I can, and these were smart, awakened people. And how'd you do it? And I said, man, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, man. I didn't choose for these. I say this affectionately, okay, when I'm going to say this. I said, hey, man, I didn't choose for those motherfuckers to come in my life, man. I mean, I did before I got here, but I consciously didn't ask for it. I said, they just came, man. It was meant to be. I mean, everybody will eventually, I said, But this has been a while since I talked to this guy, Paul. And he used to be in some of the groups, but there's no reason now why you can't. I mean, I don't know if you're just cool and like, hey, it'll happen when it happens. That's cool. That's the right way to go about it. But if you're sitting there still, right now at this now moment, wishing you could have contact with them and you haven't. That's my first question out of my head would be why? Why? And if you gave me an answer, I'd go, why? They're all over the place. Clouds everywhere. You're not going to get, and you know this, people, I'm just being redundant, but you're not going to get somebody to come knock at the door. They're not, if you pay, maybe they might, but typically they're not going to come show up yet. It's a process of meeting them. Okay? It's a process. And they take it slow too. They're very careful. And it's, let it happen and let it unfold on your time, though, seriously. But if you want to make that initial contact and say, hey, look up in the clouds, watch the clouds, focus in on a face up there, the faces that are morphing together, that are part of collectives. One comes in, one comes out, do creation light ship type shit, man. If you get what I'm saying, probably you won't, but they're up there, the ships, everything, and they're all a consciousness. Okay, they're all a consciousness. And they know our consciousness and can feed into it naturally because they pick up the vibration. Sometimes they don't believe in breaking free will and getting in somebody's head and like still in their thoughts, not the light ones, but sometimes, even them, because they think they're human too, actually, really. So, sometimes they don't think about it, and what they'll do is if they're near you or anything, they'll pick up a little bit before they close that off, they'll pick up a little bit about what you're thinking at the time. So, they're really in tune with us. They don't mean to try to steal your thoughts or get in there, but they will hear it sometimes when it was, inadvertent. But yeah, it's really something, though. I mean, I would always tell people, be careful what you wish for, though, because here's the deal, and now it doesn't matter. See, now what I'm saying really is a moot point now because of where we're at in this game. But if this was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, especially more, I'd say, look, here's the deal. You're going to have to understand one thing before you go meet your angel or extraterrestrial. Your life will never be the same again. Not ever. Ever, ever, ever. Never will be. And if I've had them say, well, what do you mean by that? I said, it just won't be because you're ready for it and everything like that. But just understand, and you'll get what I mean later on, you can never go back now. That you cross that threshold, your life will never be the same again. And it'll be better in a lot of ways, but, and then you got to watch it too, depending on the kind of family you have or friends you have. Don't do like I did and go out and, oh my God, do you see this? Do you see that? Hey, guess what's happening? Guess what's coming? Yeah, don't keep it to yourself, but you know what I mean? Be smart about who you tell and what you're talking about. I'm not trying to get you to hide shit like this is as exciting, but don't go in there because you wouldn't want, think about it like this. You wouldn't want somebody to come and try to start preaching the Bible to you, knock at the door and come in, and visit you for hours on end, would you? See, I like fucking with people, so I do. I have invited people in like that before. Yeah, yeah, totally, and started talking to them and, oh, yeah, well, talking about Jesus being an extraterrestrial. I really think I told the last lady years ago, I said, I figured it out playing games with her. I said, Jesus was artificially inseminated by an extraterrestrial race. That's how Mary got pregnant. I mean, it stands to reason, don't it? She couldn't really argue with me, but it shook her foundation to think that. Why in the fuck wouldn't that, if that bullshit was even true, somebody, God waved a wand and Mary was pregnant, but that's believable, but it's not believable that an extraterrestrial race, like Eric Von Daniken put it, Church to the Gods, it's not believable that an extraterrestrial high-tech super race artificially inseminated her. Oh, that's I've even heard one dude, that's blasphemy. Well, would it be blasphemy if a couple friends of yours, a couple couldn't have kids and they really wanted to, bring a life into this world and they went and had artificial insemination? Would that be? Well, no. Well, why in the hell would that be? It makes a hell of a lot more sense to me. And the Noah's Ark thing, I told this lady too, I said, look, you mean to tell me that God told this guy to build a wooden... He didn't, first of all, God's a prick. God should have built the goddamn thing for him in a case like that, okay? That's one. Two, if that thing was even real, it's one or two things. That was a biodome spaceship. If he took two animals with him, literally, big ass biodome planet shaped spaceship he got out of here on. That not being the case, a smaller craft, it's what he took with him was two DNA samples of every animal on Earth to restart. What the fuck he didn't do was get on a goddamn lean-to, put it on the water, and get a big stick and a big ass thing and go get two giraffes, two zebras, two elephants, two monkeys, two koala bears, two polar bears. I can go on down the goddamn list. You know what I mean? Two wildebeests, and they're all standing on this thing, and he's, meanwhile, that where he was at in the ocean had just been nuked by Lemuria because Atlantis had nuked Lemuria, and Lemuria, returned fire, and boom. And so, after a nuclear bomb hit, like, the Atlantic Ocean, this guy's out there in a rowboat, you know what I mean? 6 months in a leaky boat, I guess. But, just things like that, right? They don't want you to, they want you to believe that it was all mystical back then, and magic, and a guy playing a harp in the clouds, right? Mystical and dude, there is truth. This is the funniest thing ever. One of the most ironic things. Magic. Magic's so incredible, but it's limited. There's only one of three things that could be possible. Really two, but one of only three things it could be when you see magic. I mean, let's eliminate the third one. Okay, let's say it's not some guy named Vito on a street corner trying to hustle you a 3-game of Monty, Monty, a shell game, and it magically isn't in the cup that you actually know it is, the little nut, right? It's some kind of a scam. You get what I mean? Okay, let's forget about that. Let's say it's real, really magic you saw. What you're seeing is, look, you're either seeing an instrument, a high-tech instrument that you don't understand, that you've never seen before from another civilization. Some kind of a gadget to make it happen, just like if you would have seen a cell phone in the 40s. Okay, that's one right there. That's one. It's either that, or you're dealing with a highly ascended race of humans or whatever that are masters at levitation, masters at telepathy, masters at a little bit of mind control when they need to. They're masters at all that, right? So they can make that shit happen. But I guess that is magic in a way. I mean, but what I'm saying is there's an explanation for everything. It's not just somebody with a wand going bada boo, bada bee, bing a boo, baba boo. It's there. But then it could be too. They might do that in front of me just to be funny. But that's what it is. It's either some being that's that highly ascended that can do that sort of stuff, or it's a technology. And my guess is this. My guess is a society that already that could do that with their mind, could do those kind of things, right? They are already high-tech enough to have invented something like that. Now, somebody through consciousness, a society that invents what I just said, either they're that way already telepathically, or they are on their way. It's like their next step, right? They through consciousness, through complete consciousness, and in a non-harmful, loving way, building technology like the Pleiadians do. They came up with something like that, right? And, technology can only go so far if you're not of the light, if you're not willing to have that consciousness. I'll tell you what, here's a perfect example. Oh, every now and then, militaries on the planet, or us, the Russians, whoever, the British, the MI-12 over there, will get a hold of some alien technology, right? This shit is sloppy when they try to reverse engineer it. Because you got some IT super brains that are working on this for the planet's governments, but when you don't have the consciousness to understand that stuff all the way, and you reverse engineer a lot of that shit, it's dirty technology, man. It's like Archangel Michael said to me. He told him, hey, man, be original. Your shit is sloppy. Stay off our tips, you carbon copy. Yeah, he's funny. Him and Metateron I'm kind of doing a little thing for right now, but also, I guess I exposed that who they were. I guess everybody, if they ever see that series, they're going to know who the hell I'm talking about when they're the early days. Nettie and Mikey. Yeah, the Blue Orb and the Blue Rider. Yes. Okay, so that's those two guys, but we'll keep that a secret. It's really Metateron and Michael when they were younger. I mean, when, even right before, you'll hear them refer to each other sometimes, Michael will call the other one E for Enoch. Mr. E, slightly, and they usually go by their call names on that series. Anyway, yeah, the energies, right? The Arcturian crystal blue angels and the Arcturian translucent color realms, they basically had the same shit. It was weird. what they had to say to me was basically the same damn thing. It was strange. It was like they copied each other's um, channeling regularly, really. And I took a little bit of notes down on it because I was going to go on earlier and then I fell asleep out here in the. No, I was doing some meditation out here in the billiard room and I just, I fell asleep. I don't know, man. But I didn't write it down because I was going to come on here, but then I scribbled some down when I got back. So I'm just going to say this is going to be like a joint channeling from both of them because they both said the same shit, really. The Arcturians rambled on, or the Crystal Blue Angels said a little bit more, but not really expanding on it too much. So I'm just going to find out where they put this stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay, so excerpts from the Crystalline Grid, or from the Crystal Blue Angels. Sorry, the Crystalline Grid Project used to be the name of that channel, or this channel. The Arcturian Crystalline Grid. Okay, so the angels were talking about these coded frequencies that are coming into our atmosphere. Basically what they do is they represent a more expansive, multisensory awareness. They're targeted. They're really targeted at starseeds. Okay, they're really targeted at starseeds. Now, if you've never heard my spill, people, the difference between a light worker and a starseed, but in the end, it really doesn't matter because it's the same after a certain point. It's just how they came in here, is all. And it's really just, yeah, I'll get into it another time, but I don't think anybody wants to be bored with the difference because it's mute. Once they're built here, it's a moot point. They do the same thing, really. That has nothing to do with it. It's just how they come in here. And who they are a little bit, but not really. Same kind of space DNA with each other. Hello, girl with love. How are you? Are you leaving? Okay, that's fine. Cool. Thanks for coming in, though. What am I doing? Well, I'm on air. Yeah, hey, what are you doing? Listen, so that there's really not a difference. Starseeds and light workers just come in a different way. That's it, period. Light workers know right where they're going. The starseeds have about 3 possibilities of where they're going to go when they're seated here that they've already picked up, but they're not 100% sure which one they're going to get. And that'll be that for talking about that. I've talked about it ad nauseum before. And I thought this too. Then I thought, nah, it's a little bit too early for that to happen. But this current wave that we're going to be getting, this current shift, these flares, if you want to call them, these flickers that are going to be coming in, I really think it's going to start working on our telepathy ability. I mean, you're going to start seeing, I don't like to predict shit, but I would dare say that in the coming months, as we, before even summer starts, I'm going to find out, you're going to find out somebody who's actually talking with each other telepathically, right? And they'll be able to prove it to a point. Nothing real huge, but it's going to start to triculate, and I think it's going to become a thing, and I don't want to get off and saying that's going to happen it's going to start happening quicker and quicker and quicker. Probably not as quick as I think it is, but these things are raising your vibration to where it is telepathy. The higher you get up in the vibration, you talk through telepathy, right? Because it's a lighter, cleaner area, but the vibration is so high that if you went up there now, you blow your eardrums out. It'd be so loud because you weren't, you haven't had enough upgrades. And that's what these shifts do. They give you an upgrade. And it's like one person was like telling me, oh man, that shift just ended. Now we got Mercury retrograde. We're going to get our ass kicked again. It's going to be bad because we just got it. So we're still recovering from that. I said, no. I said, that would be the case in most anything that you're talking about, but not with this, because what happens is you get your upgrades complete. The download's complete so you can handle those vibrations better. Each one helps you handle the next one better. Right, it does. And last night I talked about I just went on, not last night, I did a quick talk last night, but the night before last, when I talked about like star seeds and all the vast talent of star seeds now in our community and light workers, I was talking about the ascension symptoms, right? Those are terrible. Those can be terrible. I still, out of thousands of people, 10,000 people I probably talked to about it, at least a little bit. My former co-host had the worst ones I've ever seen, Raquel Toombs. Terrible shit in 14. Oh man, the girl. Yeah, I'm going to try to get her. We've done about 30 shows together. I'm trying to get her back on, and I'd love to start doing shows with her again every now and then, but she's really busy. We were the Can-Am connection, because she lives 9 hours up the west coast from me in British Columbia. But her ascension symptoms were really nasty, y'all, and I know you've known people they were, but I'll let her tell it on air sometime. But it was pretty bad. I could tell you about it, and I did talk about it the other night, but it's not something to where you would have had to been there with her when it was going on. And then also, know as much as I do and as many people as I do that have talked about it over the years. Like when I was on N5D years ago talking and, doing a show, I know all about the ascension symptoms, right? So I've seen a million of them. I've seen so many of them that anybody that's seen more than I have, it really is kind of a moot point, right? But hers were terrible. Fucking just, the poor girl, really. I mean, it would have, she'd be on the floor, this poor girl would be on the floor. I say, what have you been doing, Raquel? She'd be laying, there were stretches where she'd be on the floor stretching, and then up stretching on some kind of a gadget she had for like 20 hours in a row. Like, God damn, girl, yeah, it's popping out of my head, and she was a walk-in, though. She's the only full-fledged, full walk-in that I could guarantee is that I've ever met. And I probably have met tons of them. I've talked to some people about them that, deal with it and run groups like that, and been on talk radio about it. And I can't vouch for them, though, because I don't know for sure. With her, knowing her story like I got to know her, yeah, she's a walk-in, totally, completely, 100%. And then I got thinking last night, wow, man, I hadn't thought about that ever. I'm going to have to run that by her. I wonder, that could have been part of the reason her ascension symptoms were like worse than I've ever seen anybody go through them. And this girl's a tough girl. If you know she is a tough girl. I'd encourage you to look her up. She is super spiritual, Raquel is. Yet she's been through the wars too. She's one tough, I don't like to use that word to call women, but you know what I mean? If the B word was nice, she's one tough badass. Yeah, and and so, I guess you get what you can handle, right? Your own spirit only gives you what you can handle. And I would almost say, not quite, but I would almost say that it was so bad that it would have, somebody who wasn't quite at that level, but was ascending and waking up, it could have killed them. Not really, but if it were much worse, yeah, I'd be afraid for their life. It was that bad, man. It was bad. But they're encouraging, the angels also are encouraging meditation. Relaxing alone, watching your breath, doing that. And when they said that to me, what's funny is I've heard a million people give that advice, and I do those things, but I've heard it regurgitated ad nauseum, and it's usually always meant out of love, and I thought, yeah, of course. I mean, it's always good. That's never not good advice. I mean, you can't go wrong with telling somebody that under any circumstance, okay? Let's face it. But when they said it, I really felt like, well, yeah, right. I'm going to do that. Not that I haven't before, but it's like I felt like I was given good advice like that for the first time ever yet. I mean, I wouldn't even want to know how many times I've heard that, because it's a standard line, meditate, do breathing techniques, and, have your quiet time, and just kind of take it all in, right? Good advice. I can't think of too many scenarios where that wouldn't be good advice under. I mean, really, I'd be hard fucking pressed to. They say too that life is going to start seeming a little bit different because your multidimensional self, just like with the parallel realities, is starting to come and blend together, right, into one time frame. So life will be, it's a good thing, but life will just seem different. I mean, it really ain't even a good or bad thing. It just will seem different, because it will be, The things that were important to you in the past just won't. It's not that you'll be like, fuck that anymore. I don't want to do that shit. It's just like it won't be in your purview. It won't. It'll almost be like you never had anything to do with it, but yet you did. That's what's crazy about this time, is that this ascension. And I thought so too, but a lot of people I trust are saying that, hey, this is not going to be like passing over to ascend, right? This is like you're going to be conscious of you doing it. We might be the only society in our neck of the galaxy that that will actually, remember it, right? Ascend, split off. And the split, a lot of people wonder, is the Earth going to split, or we just... No, more than likely, this is a state of consciousness, okay? Say, there's somebody that you don't vibe with anymore, you don't talk to anymore, they're not awakened yet, right? It'd be like this. It's the same thing, whether you split from them or not as a planet, those kind of people, or say they just lived across town, you know where they were, but you never talked to them, you never called, you never ran into them. It'd be like that. And it's like if you wanted to try to call them, you wouldn't want to try to ever call them, but even if you had a split thought of it, you just would never get to it, okay? That's what it's like. However, I started... There's only one way the planet could totally split. It's already done it one other time, okay? I'll get into that another time. And in that civilization, that 5D Earth, we went to the moon in 1245 AD. Yeah, crazy shit. It was all come up within 15 seconds, the whole thing. Very intricate. But the vibration would have to get so high. So what would have to happen is, say everybody you knew, or 3/4 of everybody you knew at the least, right? All of a sudden tomorrow, called you or came over, and they were into all this. They were down with it. They knew of everything. They're already reading, stuff from the Facebook groups. They're reading starseed information. Light workers are reading channelings. I mean, they're reading, and they're into all this stuff that, a lot of you were probably into a long time ago and aren't, can take it with a grain of salt now, right? They start listening to Quran. They start listening to Bashar. All the, whatever, all the hits, right? Even David Wilcock, silly ass. You know what I mean? Yeah, I kind of love David Wilcock. That guy knows how to work a crowd. He's a hustler, but he's good at it, man. He knows how to change shit up on a dime. And look, I've heard that man, if you know who he is, since the 90s when he called Art Bell as a kid, as a teenager. And this guy could switch it up. You'll see who's like when he gets into his little politics mantra, right? He'll talk about like who's with the Galactic Federation, like. So I've heard that guy. I don't care whether it's Trump, Biden, Clinton, Bush, Kerry, everybody that's been a goddamn president or ran for it since the late 90s, right? There's been a time where each one of them has been part of the Galactic Federation. That particular week, right? And then it's the other guy, and I've heard him. He's hilarious. I'd pay $50 for a call, though. And they only go back 5 years on Coast to Coast AM. The show sucks, but I'd pay $50 for that clip of a phone call that David Wilcock called in on 12 years ago when he wasn't a guest. It was open lines on a Friday night. I remember it because my son was still in junior high. Then he had basically half the football team over, for sleepover, and I'm sitting there staring at the stars, having contact with them, and I've got Coast on in the background, and I hear George Norrie, if you know who he is. I hear him go, Tommy, that's his producer. Tommy, is that David Wilcock on line 5? And Tommy goes, yeah, George, and he really seems upset. I think you better take this call right away. Well, that's strange you calling that. Yeah, so he picks up the phone. It's David Wilcock, man. David Wilcock is freaking out. He's like, oh my God, George, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. They're going to get me. They're getting me. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And George Norrie is like, how that idiot is. He's like, well, gee, David, who's trying to kill you? What's going on? And David went into mantra about it being the cabal and, the usual suspects, probably the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderberg Group, the future homeowners of America, things like that, right? And George is like, well, David, you got to call the police. He said, no, George, I can't do that. I can't. Well, David, what are you going to do? We got to get the authorities involved in this. No, George, I can't do that. I can't. So then silence hits. It's silent for about 5 seconds, which on radio can be like dead time like that is a no-no. And then all of a sudden, here comes Wilcock. He completely changed his character. He's not hysterical anymore, nothing. Very, very calm. And he says, George, but the one thing is, George, and this was late on a Friday night. It was Saturday morning back east where this shit was going on, probably, or, now they operate out of L.A. But but if I live, they did tell me, George, if I can make it till Monday morning without them killing me, they'll never bother me again. In fact, that they would help me out sometimes with protection if I could make it to Monday. This word for word, this is what this dude said. Because I was even a little bit worried for him a little bit, man. He was really tripped out, dude. He played that to the tilt. You gotta admire his art. He got paid, Joe. You can say what you want about him, man. He got paid. But yeah, and he changed it. He's all, yeah, he's like, yeah, but if I make it till Monday morning, which this was Friday morning, Saturday morning back east. This was like well, no, it was Friday, Saturday here was like midnight when they started taking open lines here. And Wilcock called in sometime in that hour, that midnight to 1 hour, would have been what, 3 to 4 back on the East Coast. Okay, so it was Saturday morning still, but yeah, they were gonna kill him. They were after him. They were gonna kill him, but if he made it till Monday morning, so at that point he had another 48 hours to, if they didn't get him, then they were on his side. We're gonna kill you, but we're gonna wait. If we don't get you in 2 days, we're gonna protect you. I've never heard that's brilliance. I don't care, good or bad, lying, whatever. That's brilliance. Brilliant work by Mr. Wilcox. Seriously. And then George, George plays the dumb guy real well. Oh, well, gee, David, you got plenty of friends, don't you? You can stay with and stuff like that. Surely somebody, would take you in and blah blah blah. You got people that care. There's people that love you. You can crash at many people's houses. Just don't come to my house in St. Louis or the one out here in L.A. while I'm in the studios. No, he didn't say that part, but you know what I mean. I'm sure he was thinking it. Yeah, David, hey man, there's plenty of places you can go. Just don't come to my place in St. Louis or when I'm out here in L.A. But yeah, it was brilliant. I'd pay money for it. That phone call was, and he's an entertainer and he's good at it, man. He wrote a really good book when he was really early on in his career, and I really liked him. And then hey, I could judge him or sit there and go, but I know him. I see through him, but I admire him because he knows how to work it. He say what you want about Alex Jones or Rogan, they know how to work it. It's an art form. It really is. And David Wilcock would be the kind of guy that if you got in an argument with this dude, all of a sudden, right in the middle, he could switch it up on a dime and start arguing your point for you, and then you'd be like on the defense, say, no, I wasn't right, you're right. Yeah, I mean, he's great like that. Like I said, I've heard him have everybody that ever ran for office, even since the 90s. They were part of the Galactic Federation of Light, and then depending on how the polls were, yeah, he's great. Because what he's learned, what Wilcock, and I'm sure of this, I've talked to him a couple times, okay, that's it. But what I would ask him is, he's figured out that people, we all know, have a short attention span, right? But he's figured out that he can get sycophants that like him because of who he is, and not quite overdo it, but they'll watch his show, it's entertaining, they'll listen, and even if they'll find themselves starting to buy into everything he says, some will, right? But he knows that what he knows is that if shit doesn't come true or anything, he can change it up the next week because we have such a short attention span, right? Most of us do. I mean, I don't. I remember it all, but and a lot of you do too. But a lot of people, they just, especially if you're not awakened. I know this probably doesn't apply to a motherfucker that will ever hear this. They get it. They remember, but people don't typically. What happened last week? Look at the society we live in now. Shit changes so quickly by the day, and it's because of it. It's because of a perfect storm of shit. It's because of a corrupt media. It's because of it's also because of timelines. It's also because of Ascension, right? All that stuff, good and bad. It's just energy, really. It's not good or bad. It's energy. Is the perfect storm for why that is. Why it's such a. It's not just that it's a accelerated news cycle with news, cable news all over. Instead of just the nightly news on a network. Yeah, it's everything. So everything happens. You can live your life in a single minute, like Foreigner would say on the song Double Vision. I'll live all my years in a single minute. It's almost like that. And especially, guys, when these timelines really start coming more into our purview and our awareness, perception of consciousness, it really will be like that, because what will happen is everything will be all at once. Our consciousness, it'll start to move that way. It's not going to get that way completely in the fifth dimension. I'm talking like way higher up dimension living before it's complete, but it'll be such a radical change. You'll notice it in your lifetime. Yeah, man, and you'll realize that that's where it's going. Yeah, that, you realize that, hey, yeah, well, that's what I'm on my way to. Yeah, everything's at once because it's just there. Everything's there that you've ever done. It's right there and then, and it's really hard to put into words, and I'm still trying to figure a little bit of it out too, but I would pretty much be confident that, I'm on the right track with it. I'm not the best articulator, believe me. I'm not that guy that wrote that book behind there. No, do you want to talk about some fucker that can articulate things and put it down? Yeah. Dude, I know, but I'd say, dude, I put about 85 to 90% of my knowledge up against his any day, but the problem is that he's got that other 10 or 15, but it's not that even with him. Or her, I'll get into her in a second, Francesca. He is articulate. He's clear thinking. He can lay it down. That book is the best book ever in the New Age community. I'm sorry, it kicks the shit out of Bringers of the Dawn. It kicks the shit out of it. I love Mondonican. I'd love to interview him before he died. Or I'd love to before he passes on. Zechariah Sitchin that wrote The 12th Planet. Listen to it on audio if you ever, get interested to it. It's about Nibiru and all that. Shit you really don't need to know, but if you're interested in it, the Anunnaki. It's a very, very dry, boring read, though. The man is so methodical. They needed somebody like that to interpret those tablets, though. Very, very, the book is very much a drag and brutal to read. So William Shatner does it on audio. It's all over YouTube, and does a really good job of it. That's how I would listen to it if I were you. Unless you're an avid reader and you want to read this thing's thick, no illustration at all. Not that you want a book with a bunch of pictures, but it's just bland, dry, hard reading that never ends. Okay, so, and this book here, the thing about this book here, it's the easiest read you'll ever read in your life. I have to preface this by saying this, what I'm about to say, because I don't want this to get misconstrued. That book is almost as easy to read as like a Dr. Seuss book or something like that, or a kid's book like that. But don't get that fucking twisted. It's got as much info in it as it blows away those other books I said. You have to read it. It's very detailed, very, it's amazing. It's an amazing book, okay? And I don't sit there and promote books. I'm not representing them or anything like that, right? But the book is one of them books, if you don't read books and you're into our community, yeah, get it and read it, seriously. It's a very easy, quick read, even if you're not an avid reader, and it should be required reading in our high school, seriously. Because here's the deal with that book. If you made kids in high school read that book, even the kids are like, fuck this, whatever. Surely they're going to read 2 sentences out of it, right? Well, that's all they're going to need to glean something from it. That's how good it is. That's all they're going to need to glean a little bit from is just a couple sentences. And it should be required. And I knew it was going to be that good, too, because I know those two, and they're both brilliant. They're both great channelers. They're both great articulators, speakers, writers, thinkers. I never asked to see their report cards from high school, but I'm sure that their grades were pretty good, too. I have no question about it. Francesca now, on the other hand, man, it reaffirmed me last night. I was listening to Cryon. I love Lee Carroll. He's the best channeler out there from this generation period. He's my guy. If you're kind of in the high school level of this stuff, right? You're not in college. You're kind of junior highish kind of level, getting there. Bashar would be your guy. To listen to start with, right? And by the way, he's gotten better over the years a little bit. But Cryon is the man if you're really like there. But it's not a competition, right? They're both great. I've talked to both the gentlemen before, Daryl Inca and Lee Carroll. Great dudes. Really, both great dudes. So it is what it is, but Francesca is a better channeler than Lee Carroll. She's a better, that's bold to say. The thing is they're about right there. When it comes to one, they're about even in one aspect, but then when she gets into her multidimensional aspect, she just floods right past him. And there's a lot of stuff that she hasn't released yet that's just dynamite. She's calculating with it, and there's a reason. It's a good reason. She's got a deal to write children's books. There's one coming out, I guess, at the beginning of the year, the first one. Those two could write a few more books together at least. Those two could each do a few on their own. Who knows? The only problem they might have is they might run out of, well, they won't run out of lifetime, but they run out of time to do all that in one lifetime, man. Oh yeah, those two, I always tell them to, man, they could forget everything. Not forget, but let's say that they didn't get any more downloads, ever. Tomorrow it stopped, it quit for them. They've still got enough both to probably write a few more books each, and 1 or 2 together. That's how brilliant they are. And I don't just go out and mark it. I'm not a sycophant. I don't go out and mark myself out for anybody, man. I don't believe in heroes. I don't really believe in looking up to people either. Because they're a person. I believe in admiring them and, hey, how's it going? And it's kind of nice to have an older person who's been there before, kind of as a sort of a mentor, but, yeah, I don't know, and I polite to him. I call him sir. I call people sir all the time, sir, ma'am. I never did when I was a kid, when I was a gangbanger, never did. I'd walk right over you. I didn't know the meaning of the word respect. I really didn't know it at all. I didn't understand what it meant till I was older, and I met people that I respected because it wasn't anything forced, man. They earned it. Right, then I learned it that way. Not out of some bullshit that you should just do it. You know what I mean? You should treat people like you'd want to be treated, use the golden rule, but if you're going to respect somebody, they've got to earn it. You respect their privacy and you respect their space automatically already, but you don't, what, just because you're older, I respect you. Well, maybe if you want to, hey, whatever. I can't do it. My body, my mind is not able to do it until it happens organically. It's not something that I've sat back and go, God, I wonder if I'm ever going to get to a point where I respect that dude. Oh, I really would love to. I don't, but gosh, how could I? No, it happens organically. Yeah, but when you hear it yammered in your ear about you should respect your elder. No, you should you should be nice and treat them like you'd want to be treated. Respect is something that is earned. It's an admiration for somebody. So, and that's kind of, those two, I love them to death. Right? But, then again, I wouldn't go jump off a bridge if one of them wanted me to. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, it's not, and some people will look up to other people like that, like they're not, like there's something more human, or they're subhuman, and it's one thing, like I said, to admire somebody and look up to somebody and respect them. That's one thing. But some of these people get it in their mind that these people are larger than life. And then they can appear that way. But when they're alone in that midnight hour, they're just like you, man. Yeah, so it's not, and I'm glad we've gotten past that in society. I was thinking back to, like, I'm going to use an example about 3 acts rock and roll music. Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Elvis. Now, those 3 acts, they're, and I have to preface this, people say, well, I didn't think they were the best. I don't give a fuck what you think. They're the 3 most popular acts to ever live. Anybody like Elton John, the Rolling Stones, another tear down. Not even close. And nobody could ever be again because of the way our society is. It's not a 6 degree of separation society. We've got the internet, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and so even with, you're in love, say you're in love with a rock star, my God, it's just everything and all that. Well, you can see what they're doing every goddamn day. You don't have to wait till next month when, Teen Beat or whatever the fuck the magazine was back then comes out to see anything about them, or catch them on some variety show every now and then, or go buy their record, right? You can see what they're doing all the time. So that, and then you can even connect with people that at the worst know somebody who knows somebody who knows them. It's that, so we don't, and plus we've evolved, you won't have that. Those 3 could come back now and be reincarnated, right? Wouldn't be like they was. You wouldn't have people, girls fainting and pissing their pants at concerts just in the sight of them. John Lennon took a lot of heat for saying that we're bigger than Jesus Christ. What? Hey, you get people doing that for you, man. What the hell else was he supposed to say? And I love the Beatles, but I'm not that big a fan of his, personally. Okay, till he got a little bit older and got his shit together. But, yeah, what the fuck was he supposed to say? I mean, look at crazy. I mean, these girls would piss their pants at the sight of them. You think they'd do that at Justin Bieber? Yeah, some mark themselves out for him like that, but these girls would have, like, a religious experience, is what I'm saying. This shit was like a revival to them. I mean, like, when you're talking about mesmerized, it's one thing to find some, I understand we're all young, we all have, like, I'm sure, you girls are listening, you liked, particular singer when you were younger, or actor. I didn't a lot, but I did too. I had a few of them, that I thought were cute. I was weird though. I liked, when all my friends were liking Madonna and Paula Abdul and shit, I was in love with Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton when they were middle-aged women. So I like strong women like that politically. I'm not going to say anything about them now, but I'm talking about just in general, right? But, I don't know. I thought Valerie Bertinelli was cute, and I thought Shannon Doherty was too, off of 90210, because I'm a brunette guy, but I really wasn't. But so you get what I mean. So, you're mesmerized. If you meet them, it'd be exciting. It would. It'd be really cool to meet them and all that. But, I mean, as far as fainting and pissing your pants over it, I mean, really, the Elvis, Beatles, other bands too, but those 3. And what I'm getting at is when each one of those 3 were in their peak. when at their popularity. Michael in the early mid-'80s, Beatles in the mid-'60s, Elvis in the late '50s, okay? There wasn't a person on the fucking planet between 8 or 88, I don't care where they lived, if they were coherent, somehow, someway they would have heard of one of those three. That's how big they were. You know, they're the kings of that genre. You know, you can say, well, I like other people. Well, I might too. I think Elvis was a racist, but it doesn't matter what I think. I mean, they are number one. You know, there's a difference between what you think and what is. You know, the stats speak for themselves. The hits speak for themselves. The number. It is what it is. It doesn't matter how it got there. It is what it is. You know, somebody retires from a sports organization or league, and they lead that league in scoring all time. You can't say they don't. They do. You know, and that's just what it is. But I'm glad we've moved past that to where we completely freak out like that over somebody else. People would do that though. Look at gurus, man. I love gurus. I'd hire, if I was wealthy, I'd have one live with me. I mean, I believe in a good one that was really deep into Eastern and Western philosophies combined. Of course, like my little blue guru I channel, I'd have him wear a blue robe instead of red, and just because I like the blue. But people would, think, oh, this guy, he's so amazing, and he probably was, but then you get into that, looking at him as larger than life. And chances are, if you were ever in a position where you got to know that person and be with, say, God, wow, lightning struck twice, you won the lottery, and you're with that person, you find out real quick that it wasn't what you thought. You thought the grass was greener on the other side, but you got there and it was kind of green, but it was brown and wilting a little bit. I don't know why I got off on all that, but those are two great people. Plus, here's this other thing. When I talk about sycophants like that, this guy's a great man. David's a great soul. If you don't know who he is, look him up. His work is awesome, and it just keeps getting better. Okay, Francesca, amazing woman. Amazing. Both of them are amazing as hell. I hope they both, I hope they do, when they do the audiobook of this, I hope they speak it. Use one of them to use the voice. They'd both be great at it. If I had to pick, I'd pick Francesca. I love you, David, but you're a dude. I'd rather hear her voice if I'm gonna have to hear the whole thing. Okay. But either one of them would be wonderful. They had to do one. They had to do one each together, and then one where they swap off. But like he, and I went through this problem too. Years ago when I first came on, and I was like the only game in town on in any of these groups doing radio shows before I quit for 5 years. People will want you to be their guru. David is above that, but if he was any lesser of a soul and he decided all of a sudden that he wanted to have groupies and shit, he could. Oh God, he could. And that's where he's really grounded at and really amazing, right? And sometimes when I first met him, I'd be worried. I'd see all this shit happen from him. I'd be like, oh my God, kid, I hope you can handle all this. And I'd be like, oh, dude, I hope you know. But he's got it. He's got it figured out. Yeah, man, he's got it figured out. And you know what? He's an indigo. I'm always calling him kid. He's only 6 years younger than me, right? But he's an indigo on the Blu-ray, so it's like, he's everything that I would be if all my faults were sealed up. Really. Yeah, totally. He can handle this shit, right? He didn't decide to get all fucked up on air one time and tell everybody his address and get people sending me the weirdest shit. This happened for a couple months. I had to take that show down, but yeah, it was really not one of my better moments. But we live and we learn, so I quit doing it for 5 years until 7 months back. Yeah, and plus the movement was dull. Saw David coming along though, and I'm like, hey, this kid's got potential. Here we go. Watch him. He kept putting out more good info, and then, yeah, he's wonderful. He's helped a lot of people. He really has. It's amazing to see somebody like that. It really is. I mean, even though they exist and you know it, but yeah, his work is, if you don't know who he's, look him up on Facebook. Seriously, just knowing his vibration is good. Yeah, and her too. Same with her. Yeah, good people. But yeah, again, channeling, okay, I'm going to get back to the crystal blue angels. I'm not going to get back into it, but I am. Channeling now, and Lee Carroll was talking about this the other day too. Him and I are always thinking the same shit at the same time. It's happened for 14 years, no surprise. I'll think it, he'll say, and the next channeling he'll say it, or I was just thinking the same shit, and then, or I'll hear him say something, and then it'll hit me like, yeah, wow, okay. But channeling is just like, now it's not getting, I don't think a person has to get into that mode where they have the people come through them anymore. I only do that because they want me sometimes to do it. The Arcturian angels have actually asked me if I would do it sometimes like that, and so I do. They like the effect of it, okay, of coming through me. But they like humans so much. I think they got an ulterior motive. They just want to be able to be closer and visit. But just, telling the info. You got to download from them. Just tell the download. Give them credit for it a little, that you're talking with your guides and, say it, right? Instead of like I do, breathe and let it come through you, or in yesteryear get into hysterics about it, get up and start, like Jane Roberts would do, who used to channel Seth in the beginning, crazy woman. Yeah, they'd flip out, get up and flip out, right? Get a download from Seth, and Seth's a good channel. I don't channel him, but I got to one time, but that's another long story. He's a cool entity, but that woman that he had doing it, yeah, man, she lost her shit. Totally, because sometimes that kind of thing can really, even if it's of the light like that and a high vibration, if you're not ready for it, which a lot of New Agers weren't back then in the 70s and 80s, they weren't worth it. Or they weren't worth it. They weren't ready for it, right? And they didn't know what they didn't know. There wasn't the internet to refer to. You didn't know. It's just like with Edgar Casey's channelings. 93% accuracy, Edgar Casey. 93% in the back in... way long before color television was thought of, way before television was even thought of. I don't even know if they had sound yet in movies. But his info was 93% on his predictions, his Arcturian downloads, and he was an Arcturian contactee. Probably the first guy in thousands, in a millennia or so, that they contacted here on Earth. Yeah, he was a contact. Pleiadians dealt with him a little bit. But they were mainly with Tesla around that era, dealing with Tesla, the Arcturians, Edgar Casey. And the thing is, it's not that they gave him 7% bad info. He just didn't interpret it quite right. He was close, he just didn't get it quite right. And the thing is, the poor guy, he had nothing. What the hell was he supposed to base it off of? There was nowhere else to go see a channeler. He didn't have any YouTube to go look at how other people did it. He'd never had this happen to him. He never even thought about that shit before. The Arcturians came in his life. So, I mean, this guy, 93% accuracy. I went back and looked at a lot of that shit one time he was wrong on, and I'm like, no, well, I'll tell you this would have been right, that would have been right. If he would have been doing this now, like say now, and can know what what we know, and have access to what we do, and 98 to 99% right, exactly. I think right off the bat. And who knows, maybe with everything else, he'd have been 100, he would have figured it all out, but amazing. So he was amazing, but then you'd have people like Jane Roberts that would flip out and get into these semantics and dance around and, oh, my guides, they're coming through me with they're rushing through me, they're telling me this, and granted, you can get a download that's that intense. Okay, keep it in check, don't go that extra 2 miles to over-dramatize it, right, or those 2 steps. You get into those semantics and flinging your arms around and shit. I mean, maybe you might do that for a second, but yeah, keep it cool. You don't have to do the funky chicken and the electric boogaloo and the Tootsie Roll while giving your message, right? And then, you just give it and do it, and if it makes you feel a little intense, let your body be free to do stuff, but at the same time, be aware of it. Be aware of it, so and don't have every channeling get you into semantics like that. Make sure that it's really a good one when you do. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes that kind of information can flip people out, and what it would do is it would get them to not completely forget about 3D living. Not even taking care of business in 3D. What you got to do, you have to take care of business in 3D, otherwise You have to take care of it, take it seriously. Otherwise, you're just using those higher dimensions as a fairy tale and like a drug, a feel-good drug to think about. Getting out of here, oh, let's get out of here, oh, it's the sand. But no, take care of your shit in 3D first. And I don't mean go and dig a pipeline or anything like that. It's going to take a lifetime. Dude, I mean, all it takes is being aware. That's it, just be aware. I've always said this too, if all of us light workers and starseeds, right, say we were all sitting on a couch somewhere, not together, but wherever, wherever we are at right now, in a chair, whatever, just chilling out, I really think that if there was a problem with some issue, right, all I think it would take to put a dent in it and fix a lot of it, if all of us as a collective, the millions, and there's tens of millions of us, if we just not give it a lot of energy and that kind of thought, but if all of a sudden at a certain time we just were aware of the situation, take it in, okay, that's happened, that's happening, okay, I don't have any, I'm neutral on it, I'm not going to give an opinion on it, but okay, I know that that's happening. Well, the bad, and the bad part about it, I wish it wouldn't happen, but it's happened, and I'm not going to give it a lot of energy. You can be aware of a situation. You're out to eat. You can, you can tell the server's having a bad day. She's just probably got something going on at home, maybe with the kids or something like that. The best thing you could ever do is just be aware too of it. Don't give it your energy and dwell on it, and worry for her, and be like, poor girl, sympathy instead of empathy. But just be aware, okay? Something might be a little off tonight, but I understand this person's having a bad day, like we all do. Awareness is power, man. They say knowledge is power. Consciousness is power. Awareness is power. And I say it like this. Consciousness is the key for suckers to stop guessing. It really is. It's what it is, man. It's just, consciousness is the key for suckers out there to stop guessing. It's awareness and consciousness. And I could say it both. Well, it's awareness. It's consciousness. What's consciousness? It's awareness. It's, in fact, I'm not going to break it down. The Little Blue Guru did the other night on, I don't know if I put it on the Arcturian one or not. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure I did with this last one. But he broke down. I had 2 emails. That's what I'll do is I'll get messages from people that want to ask him a question. And I say, hey, everything's on the table. Don't message in with your trigonometry homework. That might be kind of weird. Watch me ask him, and if he really does come through with me and give me this answer, no, they don't do that. But if you have questions, you can always message me, and I can send, channel him through. He's pretty powerful. He's one of the ones that I've been in contact with that was really, I heard his voice one time when he first came into my, purview not too long ago, yeah, because I had this picture of a little blue guru, and I was kind of like a little blue guru. I'd really like to have one. And then that day I was trying to write I don't write meditations that often, but I did. But I wanted to incorporate the blue energy and the yellow energy together. And I've said it for the 1,000th time. I said, God, I wish I had a little blue guru. And I hear this voice go, yes. I thought it was my dad coming from the other side. Their parents are on the other side of the house. I thought it was him because he talks loud because he's deaf. I thought it was him going, yes, and I said, Dad, and I didn't say anything. And then it came to my mind telepathically that the little blue guru said, no, that didn't come from out there, this is me. And I said, who are you? I said, you called for a little blue guru, right? I said, yes. Well, I said, oh, okay, well, cool, yeah, what can I do for you? And I explained to him and everything, and then he proceeded to tell me how old he was. He's 1 trillion years old in Earth terms. He said, well, I said something about, I really want somebody, an old and wise soul, to be my blue guru. And he said, well, I don't know what you consider old, but in your terms, I'm 1 trillion years old. Will that do? And I said, yeah. I said, no offense, but that's pretty old. I said, little blue guru, that's pretty old. Yeah, so, the consciousness and the difference between consciousness and knowledge. I should have asked him about awareness too. Actually, he did go into that too. He went into, they're kind of almost the same thing. In a way, they really are. They're they're more alike than you might think. They're about I would dissect it like this. They're probably about 3/4 alike, awareness and consciousness. And then there's that quarter that kind of branches off to where, they do their own thing with. right? Yeah. It's aware. It is. I mean, actually, they're really intertwined. It's consciousness is something too. See, that's the thing we do for animals. And I just found that out. Little Blue Guru, he put me hip to the game on this. Hey, what do we do for animals besides feeding them and giving them shelter? That's good and everything. That's the basic, right? This is what they learn from us cats do. This is what cats and dogs, the Little Blue Guru told me, is they learn from us really. They learn as a species, as a soul at the level that they're at. They learn. We teach them because we love them and, give them attention and stuff. We teach them to be aware of themselves. Now follow me here, because like if they weren't, say they were just in the wild or they were with other dogs, right? That's how dogs are. They're close, and cats are too. They're a collective. They're a collective of people. Well, souls, right? So they're a collective, but they're thinking about, their focus is thinking about the collective, like a wolf pack. When a wolf's in a wolf pack, they're thinking about the collective. It's the collective together, but it's not like an ascended collective where they're all individuals as well too. But what we do is we make them aware of themselves. It was really interesting how he put it. I might even go back and listen. It makes them aware of themselves, the cats and the dogs. It makes them aware, right? And see, I had this mindset. They're more ascended than us, and he said that too, as far as their senses, that it would blow our brain up to have to spend an hour with their hearing, or especially cats, and their vision would drive us nuts too. It's so intense and so multidimensionally high, right? But what we're doing is, some of them are next go around will evolve into human souls. I've never heard it put that way. Little Blue Guru said that doesn't mean I take it to the goddamn bank. Okay, that's just what he said. I had to give a disclaimer. This is what he could tell me the goddamn sun was going to come up tomorrow, and I wouldn't. I'm not going to take it for the gospel till it does. It's just interesting, and these guides won't stop coming, man. I've got 22 of them that I've contacted. I've got another. I hope that's it. There's another 8 I haven't even talked to yet, and I know who the hell they all are. I've got 30 of them, and they're telling me too that. Yeah, if people need a guide, we're open. And I've done shows, but I'm curious. I'd love to get one person to try to channel one of them too. And I've got like 30 options, or 22 that I've used. You could choose from. Female ones, male, and mostly female energies, but some male ones, collectives, individual ones, and collectives, right? And then inside the collectives, right? I know who's all in the collectives, and I haven't even counted all them. So yeah, if you're looking for some aliens to talk to, really, let me know. And the only, what would hurt? The only thing that could happen for you was nothing. Bad. If it wasn't good, nothing would happen. You wouldn't. But my guess is that you would get contacted back at some point. Maybe not right away, but I'd say within a few days. If it's longer than that, there's a reason, but you'll hear from them if you're sincere about it. Take whatever you want. The 12th dimensional Pleiadian plasma lightning collective. See, everybody else is ascending too. The Pleiades just got themselves a 12th dimension. And they just went up to 11. They just got themselves a 12th dimension. Not that long ago in Earth terms. I think less than a year actually. And then they came into my life here this last year, but it's like they've been with me the whole time, like with my orbs and everything like that. Yeah, the plasma lightning collective, everything's just plasma. Frequency, vibration, energy. 3 words. It says it all. Energy, vibration, frequency, and if you want to get a little superficial, plasma. Because everything in the universe is plasma. Like nebulas are creation centers, right? They're creation manifestation centers. Nebulas or like a store you go to if you want to build your own universe or constellation or upgrade the stars in it. Yeah, well, you're going to go to the nebulas, your local creation manifestation center, to get all that shit. Or if you're busy, you'll have them build one for you. And when they're not doing that kind of stuff, they're polishing up and recycling, stars out there for decoration. You can see them in there working. Yeah, that's where creation comes out of. Is the nebulas. It's because, see, everything has a process to it. There's no just waving a wand and it happens, right? Like I think we're taught to believe in some innuendo way. All this stuff has a process that plays out. And what I don't understand is why this is how dark it really is. They're so afraid of us knowing all that all these years or getting to that. And it's like, why? Well, because it's obviously some kind of a control game. But if you're not of that mentality, you can't understand it, because I can't understand it. I can't understand wanting that kind of control. I can't think of anything I've ever wanted any fucking control over. Myself, maybe, but other people, why? No, man, I don't. I'm too self-centered and selfish to give a fuck. I give a fucking love, it ain't like that, but I mean, I don't get off on what they're doing or what I've impacted them to do, or, well, unless it's good, unless I help them do something great for themselves, it's going to be fruitful and, fruitful for them, but not like, oh, I have control. But I've worked with a lot of people that are like that, though, and I could never figure it out. Well, I knew it like anybody else would know it, right? But yeah, I just couldn't figure it out because they're control freaks. And I'm like, why the fuck do you want that kind of control, though? And that's what it comes down to, because it isn't about money anymore with them. It's not even about it. They've got enough for it. Look, they could sit there and play a game and tear up dollar bills and throw them all over the place all day. The money, long since not a problem. It's just there, long since not a problem, okay? So it's the power, it's the control game. And why? Because maybe there's something in them that has them feed off of that energy. They feed off of that. And there's several layers to it. They feed off of it and live off of it. Maybe like light workers would live off the sun and get, all their nutrition from, especially in the Pleiades, the great central sun, the Halcyon. But these people feed off of, or these souls, and they just feed off of dark energy, right? And you can tell when you see them. They're not like a lizard, but you know you can't tell. But here's what will happen is you might meet somebody like that who's really cool, really cool, really cool, really cool. Okay, they seem nice, they got their shit together, and they do. Then you might hear them one time, and it isn't even directed at you. You might overhear them on the phone. You might overhear them in another room. You might hear them say something nasty and like mean and insulting. Nothing that you or I probably haven't said before when we've been hurt or anything in our lives, okay? Not like that. But then it'll be the way they say it. It'll be the way they say it. You'll know when you hear it. It'll be the way that they put it in their voice, and it'll get you, if you're awakened, you probably will get it. If not, it would just sound like somebody being a jerk. But you'll get it, and it'll surprise you a little because, from what you'd known about that person to that point, that there was a side to them like that. And then once you see that side to them like that, excuse me, then you start noticing other little things, right? Once you get tipped off with anything and you're aware, then you start noticing other little things. Things that you had noticed before, but you just kind of filed away because what the hell would, that doesn't mean anything yet. But then you remember it, and it does, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And some lady on the Galactic Federation of Light on the GFOL station had said that, or what? Maybe it was the light workers. I don't know, they're all good. They got some good people on there now, a lot of them. I love this kid, Tan Hannon, on GFOL. Check out Tan, I get his name wrong all the time, Tan. Excuse me, it's T with with an apostrophe, and then E-N-N, his last name is Han, H-A-N, and is what he goes by. I forget who channels him, actually, but sounds like a British dude. Yeah, he's really dynamite. Reva is another one that's dynamite. I've listened to Mira. Mira's there too for years. But that next level coming up is even better, I'm not saying better, they're just different. Like Reva is great and Tan is awesome. Their channels are really good. But this one lady was talking about okay, these evil people, not evil, these mean people among us, right? And I like how she did it. She put it in a way where it needed to be said what she said, but it didn't sound at the same time like the same old, the lizards are coming to get us bullshit, you know what I mean? Scare stories, right? She was just telling how she said, these people do not look like lizards that I'm talking about. They have nothing, they don't look like them at all. Inside, they probably are, but they don't look like them. And it's people like that that are, most of these people I'm talking about are CEOs of companies. They are, senators, congressmen, people in that kind of work, presidents, every president we've ever had except Jimmy Carter, honestly, to a little bit, yeah. Every one of them. Every one of them is a narcissist son of a bitch in their own way. Except for Carter, it's weird, he should never have been president. He was the best ex-president we ever had. I mean, yeah, no, he wasn't cut out to be president, but not because of what people think. he wasn't cut out because it was too evil, corrupt of a game for him, and the time wasn't right. But yeah, every other president's has a little bit of a streak of a son of a bitch in him besides Carter. And it's just how it is when you get to that level, right? I mean, you can't get to that level without being bought off. Or whatever. You can't do it. I don't give a fuck if you're a multi-millionaire and you're going to campaign your own shit. Dude, no, you can't. You're not going to do that. You run out of money doing it that way. I don't care if you're a billionaire. Campaigning and costs a lot of money, and then, once you sell your soul to the company store, then you have to. You can't blame them. You have to get to that level. Congressmen, senators, same thing. They're power hungry, and these kind of people have this thing within them to like to control people. Worse even yet, our CEOs of big companies. Oh, my dad doesn't sound too good. I'm getting worried about his lungs, man. That's all I need. All I need is Luno, man. Yeah, well, these CEOs of these companies, right? It isn't like yesteryear. They make a fucking millions of dollars a year while their workers are starving almost. And they're the ones doing the work. It isn't some big fucking genius CEO. There are some genius CEOs that have turned a company around, no doubt about it. Have they? Yes. So they do that, and then that's that. Most of them are fucking not some big boy wonder genius. They did the work. They got their degrees. They after that they got the right breaks. Maybe were in the right family. Everything fell into part for them. Plus they did work hard to get that initial degree. Okay, but yeah, the wage gap, right, is terrible. I mean, it's terrible, and people don't think anything of it. I mean, that's really outrageous. Making millions of dollars a year as a CEO, and people are making like, I don't know, 15 to 20 an hour. Is it? I mean, come on. The gap is spread too heavy, and the CEOs just think it's okay. Yeah, they think it's okay. I mean, that's. I'm not saying I turned that job down, but I mean, I'd be also an advocate for. As much as I could be, I'd be an advocate for changing that. Giving up half that to give back to the guys, right? Instead of making $5 million or $3 million a year, make $1.5 million, or make $1 million, give that back. And it could be done, but it's just power, and I don't understand that. I've known a million people like that. I can spot it in a New York second on somebody they're that way most of the time. Most of the time, and then the few times I haven't right away, then I did over some shit, like when I seen them act a way that I couldn't believe because it wasn't something I'd ever known from them. Usually it was people that were really sweet and nice and just seemed really cool, right? And then you see them in that one moment. Yeah, it's happened a couple times, but usually I can spot it, so get away from it. But if you're in a work environment with somebody like that, a colleague or whatever, it sucks. Because they've always got an angle when they talk to you. And you'd really like to be their friend sometimes, and maybe you do hang out with them a little, but you always have to have an angle. Because they're fishing for something all the time. Yeah, and I don't understand why. But anyway, who cares? We're sending... That kind of vibration won't come with this. I thought about asking everybody, too, what they thought about writing a letter. Like to saying goodbye to 3D. Like, just a goodbye letter to it, whatever you want to put. Dear 3D, I'm gonna miss a world where everything is, where everything has the potential for me and somebody to squabble about anything and everything, but not a fucking thing at all. To squabble about this, to squabble about that, up, 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 down, 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 and all the while it's just round and round and round. Yeah. I'm gonna miss that a lot. God, I'm gonna miss that drama. God, I'm gonna miss it. I'm really gonna miss having a couple peaceful days in a row than having somebody in your life, because they're having withdrawals from no drama. Have them, say some shit or start some shit or do something. God, my biggest fear is that I'm gonna be there and it's not gonna happen and everything's gonna be cool, and I won't have any drama come my way. I'll be waiting for it, but no, it won't. It'll never come again. So goodbye drama. Goodbye squabbling. Goodbye bullshit. I mean, it is the nuttiest thing down here. If you're a Pleiadian old soul like I am, yeah, dude, we're scratching our heads still. After we know we're scratching our heads at it all. It's really bizarre down here. And I've talked to Pleiadian races that watch us up there and say, yeah, they see human races from all over the galaxy, and they see ours, and it's weird to them. You know, imagine being able to be in tune with all these different human races, right? Seeing what they're up to, how they conduct their Earth planets. You know, and then you run into a few that are like, you run into Earth and see what they're doing down here. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, probably a little eerie to even them. Yeah, weird. At least weird. I would think it was really weird. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things we have the inalienable rights to have. All these things that are pushed upon people to go and get an education so you can have. It's a competitive world, so somebody's going to get fucked in this kind of society that we have. It's just, that's how it's based. You know what I mean? That is how it is based. Water, food, medicine, and shelter. You know, and energy. Those things are those things could be just a basic that we all have, and it should be. I'm talking, that's you know, that's what you give the most destitute, lousy person, or so you want to call them, that you could think of. I mean, they have the inalienable rights to all that stuff I just said. Anything more, you know, it has to be, you know, earned or whatever, or worked at, but, you know, fairly good sized place to yourself if you're alone, you know, and have all that stuff there that you needed, the medicine, the power, energy, water. You know, that's why those crystalline towers would have been great for the Earth. You know, set up, Tesla thought, what, 8 or 12 of them, I think. And maybe, you know, just to be safe, maybe do 20 of them all over the planet, 150-foot ones, and then that could run power for everybody. You know, and he talked about that. And, like, I don't know the details of how that would happen or anything, but it sounds to me, and I'm not into bullshit, it sounds to me like that would, with the right consciousness, that would do it. You know, that would give everybody power. Water, easy, not easy, it's going to be tough, but I've got the solution, and Cryogen had it too. Yeah, well, when the oil, I've said this before, we get rid of oil. We'll have a little bit of oil still because we'll need it for some products, but, you know, just a smidge here and there. We'll clean all those pipelines that go through the fucking, every continent on the planet. Well, except, I'm sure Antarctica too. But everywhere, they go through everywhere, right? Those things can be cleaned out. However, I don't know how they would do that, but I'm sure they could. And they could be used for saltwater filtration systems. Yeah, start seeding the clouds, make it rain a little bit more here and there. Yeah, there's all kinds of things a society can do like that. Yeah. So I think I've said enough, though. I really love all you people out there. It's been really a rough time for me. My legs are swollen up really bad. I've got bandages on them now, and they're getting better, but it stings so bad. They sting, and I don't know why. You know, I've lost 50 pounds, and so doing better on that, and I don't know what the hell happened. My legs just started swelling up. I don't know, but I ignored it, and I ignored it, and I ignored it, and I ignored it, and I ignored it until I didn't ignore it anymore. Oh, I ignored it. I've had it for a month. I've had it for 7, 8 months now. Refusing to go to the doctor. You know, just doing my day-to-day thing, but now I'm gonna go. Well, I finally did. I went to the ER, and yeah, one wound was really infected. I was borderline, had diabetes just barely. I'm hoping maybe to reverse that, you know, with the weight I've lost and exercise, stuff like that. I was noticing I got a video of myself over on one of the channels where I'm on TikTok doing something several months back, and I'm like, dude, I've lost 50 pounds since that video. Yeah. So, anyway, but things have not been really, I don't know, I miss my kids a lot. My kids are all grown now. Had their own lives. Yeah, I never thought it would end when I was raising them. Shit, I never thought it would end, but, yeah, it does. Cherish them while they're there. My problem is here's my problem my whole life. I'm always worried about when that moment comes. I can never enjoy the moment I'm in, hardly, because I'm thinking about that next moment or that moment when it's going to be goodbye time. Yeah, everybody has to say goodbye. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get off here before I start getting depressed. I'm not depressed, but I've never felt so alone in my life at this time of the morning, just to be candid with everybody, if you hear me. I've never felt so alone in my life. Never. And I was raised an only, you gotta understand, people, I'm an only child. My parents worked nights a lot of times. I had a lot of fucking time home alone, believe me. I didn't have any more babysitters after about 10 or so, 11. Stopped having them. Yeah, it was just me all night. I mean, I had what I needed material-wise, but as far as rules and stuff go, I raised myself. And I'm paying the price for it now in other ways, but I've been alone so much in my life that when I have people around, I kind of gravitate to it anymore. So that's what it is. And with that, I bid you guys adieu. Thank you for allowing me into this space. The Arcturians are they're very high. They're the elite. Okay, they are the brass, I call them. Yeah, I appreciate them so much. And yeah, everybody that came. Okay. With that being said, this is Rock and Lock In, and I want everybody to have a great weekend. Okay. All right. Man, that was brutal. That was fucking brutal. Man, how long was I on? SOS. SOS. Yeah, getting through it really slow. Yeah, Patrice, if you're still on there, yeah, honey. Yeah, their book is pretty good, though. I mean, you gotta admit, that's... I tell you what, did tell David. I said, hey, that shit ain't fair, man. That there's no reason. I said, dude, this ain't right. That book, there's no reason it should be that easy to read. Come on, man. You got to make it a little bit tougher of a read for as awesome as it is. Make him work for it a little bit, you know. Which, he did a perfect job, but it was like, damn, dude. Yeah, that ain't right, man. You ain't being fair to those other books I just mentioned, like Sitchin's and Chariots of the Gods by von Däniken. It shouldn't be that easy to read, man. Something with that much knowledge should not be that fucking easy to read. But thank God it is. It's just, he's breaking the paradigm again. What a perfect example. He broke the fucking paradigm with that shit. Alright, we're out.